We will now be discussing for loops, which are another control structure like while loops. Now, for loops, instead of iterating as while loops do, while a condition is met, while a condition is true, for loops iterate over a sequence, like lists or strings or ranges, these data types that contain multiple elements or other iterable objects. So for loops iterate as long as there are elements in those objects to iterate over. They're suitable for scenarios where we know the number of iterations or when we are iterating through those elements in a collection. A collection of elements, like how a list is a collection of elements, or a string is a collection of characters, etc. And the loop runs once for each item in the iterable. So here's our syntax. Over here, our code snippet, for elements in iterable, and then we would indent. Always remember the colon. We would indent and then run code, and we could have a bunch of code down here. And for every single element in this iterable, so for example, for every item in a list, we'd repeat this loop. We have this other code snippet. Numbers is our list, and we have 5 numbers in there, and a for loop for num in numbers, print num. So that will print all of these numbers one at a time for each iteration of our for loop. So let's actually take a look at that in PyCharm. Let's create a list, numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. And remember this next variable, num, it could be anything. We're just calling it num. For num in numbers, that references our numbers list. But we're just using this locally in our for loop, this num. And so we're going to reference it again, and we'll say print num. Now, if we run that, we see we indeed did print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to put a breakpoint here and debug. And let's walk through that briefly. And let's just step over each iteration and look at our console. So these are the outputs. So step over. So first iteration, print num. We printed 1 down here. And we're looping again, back to the top. Now we're back to the print, looping again. For num in numbers, we see there are still remaining numbers in our numbers list. Let's continue to cycle through, and we just continue to cycle, and then when there are no more numbers, we get to the top. We've already printed 5. That's the last element in our list. We're not going to go into the for loop anymore. We're done iterating because we've exhausted the iterable numbers. We've gone all the way through it already. So when I hit step over again, we will not be in the for loop. We'll be after the for loop. And as you see, it continued executing the code past the outside the for loop and finished the program because we have no other code there. So that is an introduction to for loops, and we will see you in the next video.